Hi, welcome to another Saturday Slow Flow. I'm Sarah and I'm going to be teaching you this simple beginner-friendly flow today. If you have a couple yoga blocks like these or foam ones, go ahead and grab them. If you don't worry about it. We'll work without them. All you need is your mat, these blocks if you have them, and something really comfortable to wear, and just an open mind. So when you're ready, meet me on your mat. Go ahead and meet me on the floor in an easy seated pose, whatever that means for you. I'm sitting cross-legged or crisscross applesauce, whatever you call it. You can sit up on a block if you'd like to, just raise the hips and open up the hip flexors. Sometimes this area is really tight. So take a moment, decide what feels right for you. We're gonna sit here for just a couple moments, so make sure you're comfortable. When you get there, take a breath in and sit up nice and tall. Maybe roll your shoulders up, back and down, lifting up the chest, thinking of gently pulling the shoulder blades together behind you. Take a big exhale, close your eyes, let your hands fall on your knees or maybe just resting in your lap on your ankles. And we'll take a moment here to settle into our practice, to set aside the events of the day that came before this, and just be here. Take a big breath in, and a long breath out. One more big breath in. And as you exhale, we'll drop the chin to the chest. Be gentle here. Let gravity do its thing, so no cranking on the neck to get it to go deeper into the stretch. And notice here, if when you let your head fall forward, if you also let your shoulders fall forward or your back to round, maybe you started leaning forward. And if any of those things happen, see if you can pull your shoulders back over your hips and keep the back nice and long. Take another exhale and let your head grow a little heavier. And on your next inhale, we'll gently roll our right ear towards the right shoulder. Keep breathing. Let that right shoulder be heavy. Exhale, chin to chest. And inhale, left ear to left shoulder. And now from here we flow. Exhaling, chin to chest. Inhaling, right ear to right shoulder. Keep that going. Breathing and moving your head from side to side. And just a little reminder that we're moving slowly. Exhaling, chin to chest. Inhaling, ear to shoulder, side to side. Go ahead and do one more on each side. And then we'll exhale, chin to chest, and bring the head back up to neutral. You can open your eyes if it feels good, or keep them closed. On your next inhale, lean forward, pull your shoulder blades together behind you, and almost like you're pulling your elbows back too. And we're leaning forward. And on your exhale, we're gonna shift the ribs to the right And then all the way around to the back center. So we're curling the spine now, tucking the chin, maybe holding onto the legs for a little counterbalance. And then we'll inhale again, shift the ribs over to the left and all the way forward. So you're making a big circle with your torso. Exhale to the right and back. Inhale to the left and forward. Nice. So you can start with these being pretty small, and then maybe you grow them as you start warming up through the spine, or maybe you keep them small. This is your practice, so as we go along, just make sure you're listening and feeling into your own body. And if I ever ask you to do something and you try it and it doesn't work, then feel free to back off, modify, or just skip it altogether. The next time your chest is forward, we'll pause and switch directions. So exhaling to the left and back, inhaling to the right and forward. Nice. We'll do one more. And now this time, the next time your chest is forward, we'll pause there and then just sit up nice and tall, gentle, neutral position. Okay, from here, take your hands. We're gonna place our fingertips right in front of us. Take a big breath in, sit up tall, and then thinking about hinging from the hips. As you exhale, we're gonna keep the back long and walk the hands forward. And you're only walking your hands forward so far that you can keep most of your butt on the floor and keep your back long. So that might be really far forward, or it might just be a few steps. Whatever it is, wherever you get that stopping point, you'll stop there and then stay where you are, or you can let your elbows come down to the floor. Either way, if you're up on your hands or down on your elbows, now you can let your back round, let your head fall forward. And then we'll inhale, walk back up to seated. And all we're gonna do is switch the cross of our legs. So whatever leg is closer to your body, you're gonna bring that out in front and then find that cross-legged position again with the other leg forward. And it might feel weird. It feels really weird when I do it. Okay, again, sit up nice and tall and we'll do that same thing. So walking the hands forward, keeping the back long until you cannot go any further without rounding your back, and then keep your hands where they are. Maybe you come to your palms, maybe you come down to your elbows, but then round your back, let your head fall forward. And we'll inhale, sit up, walk your hands back towards your body, and we're gonna make our way to our hands and knees. So maybe you just roll over your knees, maybe you swing your legs around and come onto those hands and knees. When you get there, bring your hands right under your shoulders, spread your fingers nice and wide, and your knees under your hips. Untuck your toes. And we'll look right down in the space between our thumbs or our index fingers. Take a breath in. Exhale as you get nice and strong through your legs, maybe thinking of pushing your shin bones down towards the floor or onto the floor. And now inhale, drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift your gaze out in front of you. This is cow pose. So big stretch through the front of the body. And as you exhale now, we'll curl the spine, tuck the tail, tuck the chin towards the chest. A cat pose. And now again, we practice moving with our breath. So inhaling into cow, drop the belly, look forward. Exhale into cat. Curling up through the spine, really pressing into the hands and the shins. Keep that going and just move with your breath now. So as you move here, I'll just let you know we won't be on our hands a ton today, but if you do have sensitive wrists or you're just not used to being on your hands this much, feel free at any time to just sit back, roll out the wrists, and take what you need there. Okay, coming back to our neutral spine, tuck your toes under. This time we'll send the hips back towards the heels, and then when you're ready, press up, hips up towards the sky. Feel free to adjust how far your feet are from your hands. And we're gonna pedal it out here in downward dog. So bend one knee, straighten the opposite leg, and then switch, and switch. So just taking a moment to find some movement in these poses before we start holding them. We won't be back in downward dog, but this is a great way to get into the backs of the legs and the hips and lower back. Okay, take a breath in, lift up onto your tippy toes or the balls of your feet, and then as you exhale, let your heels fall down towards the floor. Maybe bend your knees so that your back can be nice and long. Take a breath in, and then we'll look forward and take your time. Walk your hands, your feet towards your hands. You might come up onto your fingertips. You might lift your hands up off the floor altogether. And when you get your feet up to your hands, bring your feet hip width apart. Again, bend your knees nice and generously. Let your hands fall down towards the floor, and you can just let them rest or hang. Drop your head so that the top of your head is pointing towards the floor and your gaze is back between your knees. A big exhale here. And then we'll inhale, slowly roll all the way up to standing. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. And we'll land here in mountain pose. So feet hip width apart, strong through the legs. Engage your core, which when I say that, I mean, think of pulling your belly button back towards your spine and then up. Lift your chest. Think of pulling your shoulder blades together just a little bit, and then let your hands rest at your sides, palms facing forward. And from here, we move into our flow. So we do have a little bit of balance work. So as always with balance work, if you fall out of it, there's no problem. Just take your time, take a moment, take a beat, and then step back into it. So we start with our balance today. We're going to start by shifting our weight onto our right foot. And then when you're ready, we're going to peel the left foot off the floor and trying to bring the knee about parallel with the hip. Flex the left foot. If you want to stand by a wall and let your fingertips rest on that wall, or maybe even just leave your tiptoes on the floor as a little tripod, go ahead, take what you need. So from this pose here, we'll inhale. Feel all of the little shakes and wobbles in your right foot. And as you exhale, we're gonna think of stepping that left foot back one big step until you're in a high lunge. And then look down at your feet. Make sure they look more like they would be on train tracks than one right in front of the other. You want that nice firm foundation underneath you. And then we'll bend down into the right foot. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, settle in. On your next inhale, we'll straighten out both legs. Turn all your toes to the right, to the left. And then your toes are gonna kind of pigeon a little bit, so turn them in just a little bit. Your arms are still reaching overhead. Exhale, bend the elbows, cactus the arms. from here, we're gonna give ourselves a hug. So right arm on top, reach around, give yourself a hug. And then from here, lift the chest. Exhale, forward fold. So if this feels insecure for you, feel free, let go with your hands and bring them down to the floor. Otherwise, keep that little bind, what we've got going on. Step the feet a little wider if you need to. Let the crown of the head be heavy, and then shift your weight just a little bit towards the front of your feet. So again, if you do that and you're giving yourself that hug and it doesn't feel safe, bring your hands down to the floor or to 2 blocks underneath your hands, and see if you can trust yourself enough to shift forward just a bit. Take a breath. Exhale, let it go. And now we'll walk ourselves towards our right foot. We're going to turn all of our toes towards the front of the mat, and now we're in a low lunge. So frame the right foot with your hands. Take your blocks along with you if that helps to bring the floor up to meet you, and give yourself a little bit of space. Gently lower the back knee. Keep those left toes tucked. And if your hands are on the block, go ahead, tent your fingertips and lift yourself a little bit up off of your right thigh. You can do the same with your fingertips on the floor. But again, having the block just gives you a little more space to work with. Inhale. On your exhale, send your hips back towards your left heel. Your right toes are gonna peel up and point towards the sky, and we're straightening out through the right leg. Your leg does not need to be straight, but it's just straighter than it was when we were in the lunge. Drag your blocks back with you. Maybe frame the right leg with those blocks. And we're here in half splits, thinking of hinging at the hips, just like we did before in that seated forward fold. Take one more breath. As you exhale, we're gonna walk ourselves back into the low lunge. Lift your back knee off the floor and then step the left leg forward, and you're back in your forward fold. You can set your blocks out of the way. And inhale, we'll come all the way back up to standing mountain pose. So again, feet hip width apart, slight bend in your knees, nice and strong through the legs, lift up through the chest. Inhale here. And exhale. Okay, same thing, other side. Shifting the weight over into your left foot. We'll peel the right foot off the floor, flexing it, and working to bring the knee up, maybe in line with your right hip. Same thing as on the other side. If you want to bring your right toes more into a kickstand, or maybe you come into that former pose I just said with the knee lifted all the way up and hold on to a wall or a chair. Take a breath in. And as we exhale, we'll step the right foot back into that high lunge. So step back, look down, move your feet if you need to, and we'll inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, sink down into it a little bit. Inhale, lengthen through the back. Exhale. Inhale, lengthen through the left leg. This time we're going to turn all our toes towards the right side of the mat. Remember, turning the toes in just a little bit. Exhale, cactus the arms, lift the chest. From here, this time our left arm is going to be on top as we wrap our arms around each other. Pause here. Wrap our arms around ourselves. Coming into our wide-legged forward fold again. You can remove your bind and just reach for the ground or your legs, or you can keep that bind. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, hinge of the hips, forward fold. As always, feel free to move your feet out or in if you need to. Let your head hang down towards the floor. Maybe shift your weight just a little bit forward. One more breath in. If you're giving yourself a hug, bring your hands down to the floor. We'll exhale and walk ourselves into a low lunge with the left foot forward. So framing the feet, grab your blocks if you want to use them. Drop the back knee gently. Keep the toes tucked, and then see if you can lift your chest and your torso a little bit off of your left leg. Inhale. And we exhale to send it back, half splits. So again, your left leg does not need to be straight, but we are straightening a lot more than it was in a lunge. Left toes flex towards the sky. Inhale here. And we'll exhale, walk it forward. And we're in our low lunge. This time, instead of stepping back up to mountain pose, we're gonna lift the back knee and we're coming into plank pose. So we're gonna plant our palms, and however it feels right, step your left foot back to meet your right. We're in a full plank, or bring your knees down to the floor and meet me in half plank. And we're just gonna breathe here. So strong through the hands on the floor, pulling the shoulder blades apart. And wherever you are, half or full, you're thinking of pulling that belly button up and in, activating through the legs. One more breath. As you exhale, if your knees aren't already there, bring them down to the floor, untuck your toes, and we'll send the hips back. Child's pose. So reach the arms forward here. Maybe your forehead comes down to the floor. Take one more breath. And exhale, let it go. Inhale, come up onto your hands and knees. We're making our way onto our seat now, so maybe swing your legs out to the side and then out in front of you. Extend the legs long. Look at your feet and bring them so that they would be about hips width apart. And then I want you to try sitting up nice and tall. And if when you do that, your legs bend a lot, that is a-okay. That's fine. If they don't, that's cool too. And then bring your hands to your sides on your palms. You might, depending on the length of your arms and your torso, you might grab your blocks and set them on either side of you. But we're just pressing our palms into the floor and using them to sit up nice and tall. So this looks like a simple la-ti-da, whatever pose, but how it should feel is that everything is on. So your feet are flexed. You're flexing up through the legs and the quadriceps, the thighs. You're sitting up tall and using your core to do that. So your back muscles are on, your stomach muscles are on, and then your hands are pressing into the floor, which turns on the arms. And we breathe. So just like plank, this is an isometric hold, which means we're working our muscles without flexing and extending them. We're just holding them active in one position. Keep breathing. Take one more breath. Keep this pose as you exhale. And as you inhale, everything stays the same, except you're gonna release your hands and reach them overhead. Big breath in. And as you exhale, hinge at the hips, reaching towards the toes. Let your hands come to rest wherever they reach, whether that's the sides of your legs, maybe your thighs or your shins, ankles or feet, whatever it is. Exhale, again, let it go. Okay, from here, we're coming all the way down to our backs. So, take a breath in, sit up nice and tall, keep your hands reaching towards your feet. Maybe you lean forward a little bit, and as you exhale, we're gonna start curling through the spine and rolling all the way down to the floor. When you get there, reach your arms up overhead, and then we'll pull the knees into the chest. Maybe you wrap your arms around your legs or just hold onto your shins or the backs of your thighs. Pull your nose up towards your feet and find a little rock side to side. And you can let your head come down to the floor now. Bring your hands, your arms inside your legs, reaching down towards your feet. So coming into happy baby, you can have your hands on your shins or the outsides of your feet. And then we'll one by one flex your feet and kick them up towards the sky. So knees stay bent. If you're holding on to the outsides of your feet, you can think of actively pulling your feet down, your knees a little closer to the floor. If you're holding on to your shins, same thing, slightly different feel. You might, if your leggings are silky, they might slide. So maybe you shove them up a little bit, grab your actual leg, and then pull down. Wherever you are, see if you can try to flex your feet, even if you aren't holding on to them. Find a gentle side to side here, just like a little happy baby. And to come out of this, we'll bring the soles of the feet together or the toes together. Hug the knees back in towards the chest. Give yourself one big squeeze, like a really big squeeze. And as you exhale, we'll let the legs extend towards the corners of the mat. Let your toes roll out. Coming into Shavasana, our corpse pose, our final pose. So toes are relaxed and open. Hands are at your sides, or spread them nice and wide if you have the space. Turn your palms up. Maybe you lift your chest and wiggle your shoulder blades a little bit closer together. If that doesn't feel good, don't do that. Then we'll take a big breath in. And as you exhale, let everything go. Soften through the body. Maybe close your eyes or soften your gaze. And I'm going to be quiet here in a moment. But while we're here, take your time and just feel into how your body is feeling in this moment. How did that practice feel? How are you doing? And whatever you find there, soak it in and take it with you. If you would like to stay here longer, please feel free to do so. If you're coming out of this with me, walk your feet together. Keep your legs nice and long, but walk your feet together on your mat. And we'll take our arms, reach them overhead. Find that full body stretch. Flex your feet, point your toes, maybe roll out your wrists and your ankles. And one by one, slide your feet, the soles of your feet to the floor. And we'll roll onto one side. Pause there, maybe make a little pillow with your upper arm. When you're ready, press into your top arm, your top hand, to come all the way up to seated. Come back to that position we started in, or anything that feels good for you today. Bring one hand to your heart. Let the other one rest on top of it. Sit up nice and tall. Take a breath in. Exhale, close your eyes, drop your chin to your chest. Take a moment here and just give yourself a little gratitude for practicing, for showing up. Maybe this was your first time and it was a wild adventure. Maybe you've been practicing for a while and you just needed to slow it down. Whatever it was, however you showed up today, thank you for sharing your time and thank you for sharing your practice with me today. I will be right back here next Saturday for another slow flow. I hope you join me.